Do you happen to be on summer break right now? Scrolling, chilling, maybe wondering, should I be doing something more? If you felt like you're wasting your summer as a pre-med, or you're unsure what you could be doing during the summer to boost your chances for med school, this video is just for you. We're going to break down everything you could be doing each summer in undergrad, from freshman to senior year, to build a killer medical school application. And here's the game changer. I'm also showing you how you can use journaling to turn your summer experiences into a powerful personal statement, activity section, secondary essays, everything for the medical school application. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Montu Med, a current third-year medical student going to my rotations. And today we'll be talking about what you could be doing during your summer, just as I was wondering this summer before my third year as a med student, but I'm sure you also have this question as a pre-med. Okay, so why do summers matter? Summers are actually gold for pre-meds. There's no classes, no exams, just time to explore, to grow, and build your story in your application. Whether you're shadowing, volunteering, doing research, working, each summer has its own chances to add real substance to your application. And don't worry if you're not doing some prestigious program. What matters is the meaning and the growth behind what you're doing, which is where journaling comes in. And we'll be talking about that in more detail throughout the video, so make sure you stick around till the end. For each summer experience, no matter how big or small, I want you to take your journal, either it's an actual notebook, your phone app, or a Word document online. There's so many different ways about doing it, so I don't want to hear any excuses. And then write down what you did, what you felt, what challenged you, what you learned. Just write down your emotions and your raw thoughts after that experience, how it potentially impacted your decision to pursue medicine. I think this may be a little much, but trust me, your medical school application and your essays will thank you later on if you do this. You won't remember all the details later, but this journal will. Let's quickly rewind back to the summer before you even start college, the summer before you become a pre-med. But this is actually technically where your journey begins. The summer after high school graduation, you're officially in pre-med territory, shadowing. This is one of the few things that you can actually do before college that counts towards your actual medical school application, as long as it is after graduation. So use this time if you're able to shadow doctors in different specialties, primary care, surgery, pediatrics, whatever you can access, it's definitely worth it. Ask questions, and also consider shadowing in non-physician occupations in healthcare. I'll tell you a story about how that literally changed my life before starting college here soon. Observe how the doctors interacted with the patients and with the team. Write down things that you like, that you did not like. Even just observing, being a shadow, if you will, has so much value. Not everyone has this privilege to literally be inside of what doctors do every single day. You're literally stepping into their life and seeing what they have to do on a typical day in their career. So after you shadow, I want you to write down what you observed, what surprised you, what you were drawn to, how did the doctor connect with the patients, and most importantly, could you see yourself doing this? This may be your first real look at medicine. You don't want to miss that chance to capture your raw, unfiltered thoughts. This would be perfect for a personal statement later on. And here's the story that I promised about shadowing before my college started. I was thinking I was going to be in pre-pharmacy. That's what I thought I would end up doing. And then I shadowed this pharmacy director at a clinical site in my hometown. And I'm very much thankful, looking back on how much this had affected my life, is that we had a one-on-one talk right before the day ended. He asked me if I wanted to do healthcare. I was like, yes. He's like, are you 100% sure? I'm like, yes. And then he's like, if that's the case, I don't want you to do pharmacy, switch to pre-med. He gave me several different reasons, and I can go into that in a different video. But that was the point where I changed trajectories in my path. I went from pre-pharmacy to pre-med, and I haven't looked back since. I still have his card and his phone number, and I plan to go back after medical school ends to thank him for how much he actually impacted me. That one singular day of his regular work that he happened to just accept a random high schooler and let him come shadow him. He probably doesn't even realize how much of an influence he really had on me. Okay, you're in your summer as a freshman. What can you do in this time? Freshman summer is about exploration. Med schools know that you're still probably figuring it out at this point. Hopefully you've had good grades so far in your first year, but here's what you can do. If you have not shadowed previously, try to shadow physicians in various specialties. This is important for medical schools because they want to see that you actually know what it takes to be a doctor, and then you see the actual ins and outs of a typical day and not what you might just be expecting from a TV show, and not just familiar with the highlights of the career. You could also start volunteering at a hospital or clinic. You could also work a summer job. It doesn't have to be clinical. If it is, that's even better. In my own experience, the summer after my freshman year is where I kind of dived into research. I didn't really do anything my freshman year. This summer was when I reached out and started seeking opportunities and when I started considering research. Once again, I want you to keep journaling about all of these experiences that you do. Did someone inspire you? Did something gross you out? That's great material for a journal. And then next is sophomore summer. Now is the time to go deeper. Hopefully by now, grades, classes have been going okay. Now is the time to get involved in research. If you have not already started, start seeking out labs at your school, summer research programs. It does not really matter how you do this, as long as you start doing research before medical school. And continue gaining that clinical exposure. Maybe you're volunteering at a free clinic, or you're working as a scribe. That's perfect. Start considering other avenues of your application, like public health and health disparities, and try to get involved in that way. A good way to do this is by pre-SOMA. That's typically a club that might be offered at undergrad institutions. Another example is UNICEF. If you don't have these clubs and organizations at your undergrad, consider starting these, and this would be a great way to build out leadership. And now's the time to also consider medical mission trips and global health exposure. You don't have to do these, but this would be the time to consider doing that, and only consider doing these if they are meaningful and ethical. There are some red flags with these sorts of trips, so just be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions about that, drop them in the comments below. If you would like to see a video about this, also let me know in the comments. Applications for these maybe actually due the semester before. So if you're getting a head start by watching this video right now, start exploring the school's websites, writing down deadlines and the application process, and keep note of this for when you can apply. It doesn't have to be in the summer, you can do this in the winter also, and even spring break. I mentioned starting your own club earlier. Now is the time to start considering and starting applying for leadership positions in clubs and organizations in your campus. All right, for some real talk, you don't need to love research to do it. As long as you do it, as long as you show initiative and some effort, and if you can reflect on what it taught you about persistence, detail, curiosity, that is what makes it valuable. You don't have to like it, just learn something from it. Once again, this is why I want you to journal. Okay, junior summer. This is probably the most crucial summer as a pre-med, even if you're not potentially applying this year. Clinical experience should be strong by now if you were attaining hours throughout the years, throughout the breaks. Ideally, you're getting deeper and more responsibility in your clinical roles. If you're involved in research, this is the time to finish up a project, submit it to a journal, and present your research if you have the opportunity to do so. There's scholarships also, so if there are financial burdens, you can definitely find ways to work around that, and it's definitely worth a shot. And now I would consider, if you have not already started drafting your personal statement, now's the time to do so, as applications are coming up soon. And most importantly is studying and taking the MCAT. I will have tons of videos on the channel about MCAT prep and everything about the MCAT. So if you'd like to see those videos as well and my own tips and how I improved 7 points on my MCAT, consider subscribing and turning on notifications to see when I post. Okay, so here's a brief timeline for the medical school application process. You can use this for any summer, but typically if you're applying as a traditional student, meaning you're going straight from undergrad to med school, the summer will look like this in your junior year. Early May is when MCAS opens up and ACOMAS opens up. These are the application portals that you'll be using to apply to MD and DO schools. Late May to early June is when you submit your primary application. That involves a lot of different aspects. Check out my other videos on that, but just to name a few, it would include all your activities, extracurriculars, personal statements, transcripts, stuff like that. And then June to July are pretty much for secondaries. If you've not started pre-writing your secondaries, this is the time to do so. I started after taking my MCAT, and while I was waiting for my grade to come back, this is what I did. After submitting my primary, I will also have videos on my channel regarding that for more details. So you can see junior summer is very stressful. It's very jam-packed. Hopefully you could take it one step at a time. Hopefully this overview kind of gave you a little preview of what you can expect that summer. And once again, you don't have to do it in 4 years. That's just the traditional path. It's actually becoming the untraditional path, if you will, since the majority of students are taking gap years. So feel free to adjust the schedule. This is just an example and things you should be including on your application. But the order for many different extracurriculars does not necessarily matter as much as long as you attain a certain amount of hours. So remember when I was talking about journaling, this is where it all comes in. Personal statements, activity sections, Secondary essays, that's where you're going to be using all the juicy details and the emotion to create narratives and stories that are enticing for the adcoms or admissions committees. These will make your application golden. Okay, senior summer. If you apply during your junior year to medical schools to go the traditional route, there might be a lot of waiting in this period. Here's where you'll be submitting letters of updates, interest letters, and letters of intent. I have videos on my channel on my med school's application playlist, so check them out if you want any tips on those. You may also still be receiving interviews at this time, so keep doing those mock interviews and keep practicing for that. Another tip is keep being engaged in something meaningful but not overwhelming. Clinically related, it could be teaching, it could be anything, research, in case you do need to take that gap year. And most importantly, take care of your mental health. This is a marathon. You're in the race until classes start for medical schools. And journaling comes in here one more time. After you interview at a school, capture what you felt after that interview, the vibe of the school, the atmosphere, what you liked, what you didn't like, and you could use this to decide between schools if you were offered multiple acceptances. Once again, I want to note, if you have not done something that I listed in this video, you won't have to panic. Different people do different things in their own order. This is just one structure and one format that you can try to emulate. It doesn't have to be in this specific order, but try to incorporate a lot of the aspects that I mentioned in this video to make your application as strong as you can. Consider all the things that I mentioned in this video and try to incorporate those into your own application in your own way. If you don't hit every single thing, that is okay. You're not out of the race by any means. I have tons of videos on my channel about the entire medical school application process, so feel free to check those out down below. If this video helped you, please hit the like button. If you dislike the video, dislike the video. Consider subscribing for more videos. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Montu Med. Take care.